Think about in 2016, who is your least favorite candidate for president? And if you have a least favorite candidate for president, like I do, you probably think that person is so villainous that everyone has to feel the same way that you do, or at least everyone reasonable. Well, guess what? If you pick your least favorite candidate for president, who you just think is laughable and horrible, there are people in that audience who are voting for that person. And so if you are going to try to make some kind of joke or humorous comment, interjecting just that little bit of in there, it's going to offend someone. So if you do need to talk about sex, religion, or politics, because that's what you work on, then go ahead and do it and use professional and respectful language. But just be careful treading. Just pretend that you're at like Thanksgiving dinner with your extended family. Be careful treading in those areas, right? Timelines. We will have more practice sessions at the end of February, and we'll have faculty from theater and I believe the School of Communication to give more feedback to really help fine-tune and polish. And then the slides need to be submitted by March 1st. And I really encourage you to reach out to the research librarians, if nothing else, but a 30-minute appointment for them just to look through them. All of our winners in the past 2 years have worked with those folks, and they love this project, so they want to do this. If you call one of them, they're not going to say, "What? Who are you? Let me give you to so-and-so." They're really interested and they want the students to reach out to them. So, and now I will turn it over to Associate Dean Masserini, who will talk about performance anxiety.
Thank you.
Unless you have questions, did you want to add anything?
Are there any questions so far?
Okay.
We'll let you have opportunity at the end to ask questions as well. So my academic field is music. I'm a professor in the School of Music. And so I've been on stage performing for 32 years of my 42-year life. I know a lot about performance anxiety. I also know a lot about talking to students about performance anxiety, because the way I react and deal with stresses of being on stage is very different than how other people deal with it. My fears, my mechanisms for coping, my triggers are all sort of different. So I just want to give some general philosophical things to think about, and then you take these ideas and you sort of figure out how it might apply to you and how you might be able to take that and turn around your concept of being up on stage and talking with people. So, most often when I talk to my students about performance anxiety, I will use you as an example. You are one of my clarinet students, and you're really nervous. Yeah, it's like I have to play in studio class, and I'm really nervous about it. And so I'm asking you, why are you nervous?
Because I heard other people performing and they're doing a really good job, and I'm afraid to mess up.
Why are you afraid to mess up?
Because people will think bad about me. People will think that I'm useless.
Okay. That's why people are scared. You're afraid of being judged. And you have to come up with some general principles. One of them being you need to separate yourself from your product. You are not your 3-minute research presentation. And your 3-minute presentation is not you. So if you do a really great job on your 3MRP, that doesn't mean you're a good person. If you do a really bad job on your 3MRP, that doesn't mean you're a bad person, right? It has nothing to do with you as a person. And what you are accurately identifying as, I'm afraid of being judged, people aren't really judging you. They're judging your product. So if you take all of that energy you put into worrying about what people are thinking about you and improve your product, you not only are going to have a much better time, you're also going to be able to distance yourself from it if something happens to go wrong, or if it wasn't quite up to the standard you want. That's a really important aspect of performance anxiety. Musicians often tie everything that they do on their instrument to their self-worth as a human being on a daily basis. I had a bad practice day, I'm an awful person. I had a great practice day, I'm still an awful person, but I sounded good today, right?
Exactly.
It's that sort of mental thing. So you got to sort of get a little philosophical about it and just separate it out, okay? Put it in perspective. I always tell my students, major natural disasters are not going to occur and wipe out millions of people in cities because you can't play Mozart well. Simply not going to happen. All it means is you don't sound good playing Mozart. I will help you fix that. And then we start the lesson, right? It's that distancing yourself that really helps with the anxiety. So as you're performing, as you're presenting, your mental focus is not I. As soon as you say the word I in your head, you're done. If you would put the focus on, is the product doing what I need it to do? So, example I use with my students all the time, and they're sort of shocked, is this. So when I was a doctoral student at Michigan State, and I was doing my recitals as part of my degree, I would be on stage and I would be in the middle of a piece, and I would be in my head saying, you are a fraud, you are awful, you don't deserve to be on this stage, you don't deserve to be getting a doctorate, who are you fooling? As soon as this is over, you're selling your clarinet and you're going to go do something else. In the middle of my recital, as I'm playing, supposed to be concentrating on what I need to do, and then, lo and behold, when the recital's over, I'm mystified as to why it didn't go well. Well, I know why it didn't go well. Because of that internal dialogue pulling my ego into it. If you can separate yourself from that, so it's now when I perform, I think as I'm playing, and if something happens, I go, oh, that happened because of this. I need to do more of this. Oh, I raised my tongue a little too high and I just let a little squeak out. Oh, that. Or I really, I want this phrase to really go all the way through to this note. And I focus on the product. And the idea is I want the audience to hear what it is I'm doing. And I take the focus completely away from me. It's liberating. Quite frankly, it's liberating. It's liberating. So those are some things to think about mental preparation for this. Physical preparation. Believe it or not, what you put in your body really affects your performance the day of. So some very simple rules. I'm a huge coffee drinker. The day of a performance, I cut my caffeine intake in half with coffee. Why do I not just not drink it at all? Because you can't do that to your body. You're taking something away that it's really used to. So just cut it in half. I avoid things that I know sit sort of heavy in my stomach, dairy. I don't often eat fried foods anyway, but if I happen to want some fries or something, I avoid those sorts of things that I know just really sit heavy in my stomach, and I balance all of my meals with a little bit of protein, a little bit of carbs, and a little bit of fruits to get some of the natural sugar in there. I avoid artificial sweetener, like real sugar and sugar entirely, because it does this with your body. Even if you might not even realize it, it does that. So about an hour before you're going to perform, I always eat a little protein. I eat a little protein, and sometimes I eat a banana. Potassium seems to help calm that. I don't know if that's just a myth. I was told that a long time ago, and I do it, and I'm superstitious, so I just do it now. But so that's the idea. So it's like, oh, I'm really dragging. I just need to let me just eat a donut. Well, you're going to be great for about 30 or 45 minutes, and then you're going to crash, and you don't want that to happen right in the middle. So, and it's an artificial high too. So physical, what you put inside your body is really important. I always go on a walk before a performance. I like to go out and walk for about 45 minutes, unplug, and just sort of get my mind wrapped around it, sort of thing. And then there's the physical related to the mental, the way these two interact. So my question is, so when you're nervous and you're like, gosh, I'm really nervous. I have to get up and say something in class. I'm really nervous. What's the first thing someone tells you when you say, God, I'm nervous? What do they say?
Don't worry, it's gonna be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They also say, what?
What?
Calm down.
Relax,
Relax.
right? Just relax. So here's my question. How many minutes a day do you spend practicing relaxing? And sleep doesn't count.
Relaxing before sleep.
No? I'm talking consciously, you are awake, you're active, but you make a conscious decision to practice relaxation.
Rarely happens.
Okay, so then, right. So then my question is, if you don't practice relaxing, how in the world are you going to know how to relax, especially when you're in a situation where you're automatically going to be tensed up and adrenaline's going to be flowing? So whatever that, and this is just good practice for life. Whatever it is, whether it's meditation, whether it's walking, whether it's sitting in a room without any electronics, whether it's, whatever your mode of relaxation is to where you can completely let your mind calm, practice it 5-10 minutes a day. And as you're doing it, be consciously aware of how your body feels. This is what it feels like to be relaxed. So that then, when you are about ready to go and your heart starts racing and you're up and you want to relax, you can go back to that and go, oh, when I relax, my shoulders tend to go down a little more. My tone of voice comes down a little more. There's a feeling in my core that's, things like that. So there's a number of techniques. There's breathing exercises, there's focused meditation, there's all these different things. Go on the internet and find what works for you. I used to guide my students through like a guided meditation. For some of them, they just hate it. They don't get it, and that's fine. They find something else. So those are the sorts of things to think about. So get some perspective and be a little philosophical about it. Separate yourself from the product. Make sure you're putting good things into your body that day and not artificially ramping yourself up because you're already going to be going because of the adrenaline. You don't need any more. And then find a way to practice that calmness so that you can tap back into that when you need it. It's like a tool in a toolbox. You need to pull that tool out sometimes. Okay? Any questions? Okay, Mary Beth first.
I just wanted to add something, and that is that even though under most circumstances it doesn't bother me to get up and speak in front of people because I've done it so much, every now and then it does. One thing that I've noticed though is that I give my best presentations when I'm a little bit nervous. That nervous energy really, if it's not overwhelming and if you've been able to manage it, it gives you a spark so that you can be a little bit more animated. It's almost like a little present because I think the best talks I've given were when I was a little bit nervous. And conversely, honestly, I think that probably some of the worst talks I've given were when I just wasn't nervous at all because I'd done it so many times. And I just feel like I came across as a little bit lackluster. I didn't get as many questions. I didn't see as many people raising eyebrows and really looking interested. So I think that the tips are outstanding. I also think that the little bit of residual anxiety that you'll probably feel, even taking all these tips, embrace it. I mean, I know that's hard to say when you feel like your tummy's doing flips, but it's probably going to work in your favor if you're well prepared.
Yeah, I agree 100%. The one thing I forgot to say, and I tell my students, is you're not trying to be in denial and negate your nervousness. You need to recognize it and use it in a different way. It's something that's in my Zen teacher from Idaho, we used to talk about in Zen philosophy. All of these emotions are there. You're not driving them away. They exist. But at various times you pick one up, you observe it, and then you put it back down. So, my students are like, I'm so nervous. It's like, well, you should be nervous. You're about to go out and play a recital. You're going to be nervous. I'm nervous when I walk out on stage. I'm still nervous. But I know how to take the nervousness and make it, and turn it around. And the nervousness is not debilitating, obviously, but that's an excellent point. You're not driving it away, but you're using it in a different way. And getting it under control, so.
You have to excuse me, John, one of my character flaws is being facetious.
Uh-huh,
So I was just gonna try to be humorous and facetious.
okay.
It's probably not a good idea, but I'll do it anyhow, just to bring some humor into the situation.
Okay.
What are the criteria that you can assess on what is a good person versus what is a bad person? I'm just being
Yeah.
facetious. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, I've got a list.
I do too, but I don't share it with people. I want people to be on their alert when they're around me. Any other questions?
Whiskey and reefer are probably not a good idea.
No, that's an artificial relaxation. You don't want that.
No, we don't want any arrests at our event.
No. All right, so I'll let,
I think it's time for, yeah.
Did you have a question?
Yeah, I just want to say that I'm